Racial disparities a Black person has can be attributed to systematic levels of oppression,
to their lack of knowledge,
to unequal educational opportunities, to unequal housing opportunities, to unequal employment opportunities.
Racial disparities a Black person has can definitely be attributed to institutionalized racism.
Things that are out of our control.
negative experiences that Black individuals could face could be a result of classism, racism, or poverty.
Everything that we've survived and seen, so much of it is attributed to a lack of feeling safe in the United States, that I think it's easy to know where the negative perceptions come from.
Negative experiences a Black person has can be attributed to majority supremacy.
to the messages they get about their worth and their value. Some of it's tied to just literally ignorance and violence toward brown and Black faces.
Positive experiences a Black person has can be attributed to our culture.
To a positive view, an affirming view of their race and ethnicity.
A lot of prayer.
Positive experiences that Black people have could be attributed to hard work, being educated, and having positive role models.
Really great family support or really great mentors, opportunities that have been made available to them due to socioeconomic advancement, exposure and the ability to go to college opens up a whole lot of doors.
Negative experiences I've had as a Black person can be attributed to ignorance and some very biased assumptions.
White fragility.
Letting someone else control how I feel about certain situations.
Things that I've heard about that have happened and the opinions that I formed against them.
My success.
Negative experiences that I've had as a Black woman can be attributed to racism,
Sexism, assumptions about my qualifications and assumptions about my interests.
Being a double minority.
To ignorance, to discrimination, to prejudice, to racism, to being vocal about how I expect to be treated and respected as a member of the human race, not just as an African American.
Positive experiences that I've had as a Black woman can be attributed to strong women in my family and positive role models who have come before me, who have taken the time to teach me and show me the way.
To community, sisterhood, faith.
Sense of trying to be a global citizen and trying to represent.
The positive things that I've had going on in my life, I was accepted into college, I got out, I was able to graduate, get a master's degree, teach at a school.
My resilience.
Education and access.
Achieving high school gives you an advantage as a Black person because before they see you, they see your accomplishments.
These experiences all impacted the way in which I teach Black youth, in that I encourage youth to make sure that first they believe in themselves. They set a foundation in which they know that they can do anything despite what anyone says.
On a subconscious level, to say that you matter, that you are valued, and you are equal. And when the world tells you you're not, know that we've tried to kind of do that.
Teach young people to be themselves but be aware.
Because we know the stereotypes that are out, we teach our children ways in which to defy those stereotypes.
And recognizing that there are opportunities, regardless of race and gender, people are going to be mean to you, people are going to be unfair to you, and how do you bounce back from that?
Making sure that our kids are prepared.
I make sure that they know that they have to work for everything that they get. Nothing is going to be handed to them. Not only do they have to work for it, but their work has to be better than what someone else brings.
We raise them with a certain amount of caution and a certain amount of awareness that I don't think that non-communities of color have to do.
Sometimes we keep them boxed because we don't want them to get hurt.
When I became the mother of an African American male, it hit me that much more seriously. Like every time he left the house, I was afraid.
I think Black women socialize Black children to behave in a manner that is respectful, that is nurturing, not only of the children that they're teaching, but to teach the children that they must be a nurturer and that they also must take responsibility for their own actions.
To make sure that your manners are always presented.
You have to almost be a perfect child out in public.
They must be made aware that the playing field is not even, but that doesn't give them the right to act out.
Black women socialize Black youth to behave in a way that doesn't draw attention to themselves.
Given our current culture, particularly for Black men, this combination of being passive but still also being aggressive, and so to understand that we want you to come home. So what does it mean to comply with a law enforcement officer's request? But at the same point, how are you aggressive in recognizing that you have a voice?
Don't do anything that would put you in danger.
You're being judged from the time in which you meet someone until the time in which you leave.
People look at us differently. They look at us as if we act up, then we're going to cause some type of trouble.
We spend a lot of time on that because we want to make sure that we provide them with all the tools that we think we can come up with that will make them successful and keep them safe as they go through the world.
A lot of the messages that are sent to our Black youth about appropriate behavior sometimes can be perceived as negative because it's almost like we're encouraging them to cover up who they are.
I think it's really helping you to understand that people will judge you based on the color of your skin before you say a word. And so how do you come into a space and own it? How do you come into a space unapologetically, but also recognizing that you have to combat some of those stereotypes? And so I think it's giving them the self-awareness. I think how you apply it is different based on context.
We have to teach them not to express their emotion and fear when they're heated or in the middle of something. We almost have to teach them to express themselves after the fact.
Goals and strategies are very important in the way that you approach teaching and empowering Black youth.
I always want to serve as a role model in anything that I do. I want a child to be able to look at me and say, wow, she was able to do it. Guess what? I can do it.
I do have to teach perseverance. I do have to teach resilience.
That even though maybe certain people or society tells them that they can't, I have to make them believe that they can do certain things. Once I get that buy-in from them and get them believing that they can, then we look at what path they need to go on to get there.
With some of the structures within society that you're going to come against, you have to know not only how they operate, but you have to also take into account the power struggle that sometimes exists.
I think for me, I think about exposing Black youth to as many things as possible. Like,
I want to make sure that I can get in those positions that in turn can hire the next Kanisha, the next African American woman, or the next African American male. We've got to have a seat at the table in order to invite more people to come and sit down that look like us.
Some social and cultural resources that I invest in Black youth is to make sure that Black youth understand who they are and they have a chance to explore.
I have to give them a lot of examples of people who came from nothing or people who were told that they can't do something and that they made something out of themselves.
I have several college students who reach out to me on a daily basis asking for advice, asking me to look over resumes, asking me to connect them with someone who may be in a field that they aspire to break into. So that's my way of giving back.
I think culture, music is very important. I think jazz is a wonderful way to learn history, economics, and the politics.
Being exposed to the arts, I think, is one of the big ways that youth have an opportunity to see themselves outside of just the four walls of learning, and to see the impact that art and music can have on society, and that they can take an active role in that.
African American women in particular have to invest in their children because we know that there are so many real variables and factors out there that would very well end our children's lives, that would very well end our community's lives, that we have to really consciously be out there teaching, advocating, mentoring, coaching, advising.
We are the mothers of generations, so we birth men and women, kings and queens.
By being that positive person, by being the positiveness that Black youth need, show that their Black is beautiful.
We have always been the spokesperson, the person who stood up for that community.
Black women can be change agents in helping Black youth understand their own identity and to defeat some of the tensions that they face in the cultural context by being an example.
We have the capacity to reach out to people and try to pull the best of people out.
We can get really, really deep into it and go back to racism and talk about how, you know, Black women were the ones who had to teach young male children in slavery how to act because they were doing it to ensure that the children survived.
Going to schools with the students, checking in with their teachers, and showing that you're actually genuinely involved, because actions do speak louder than words. I think it's also important for Black women who tend to be heads of many households to start the learning process at home. Talk about the issues that your son or daughter are facing.
We've got to use our voice for effective change. And who else than the Black woman?